Good evening. You've just been listening to the latest single by Grant Swift called What I'm Thinking, and like a New York summer, baby. Ooh, it's hot. Now, before we bring Grant on, I am your host, Dan Stagliano. Welcome to another monster episode. You could say it's elephant-sized of the show. Our first episode in just a little while. So in case you forgot, the show is a place you'll find some of the most exciting content creators from around the world. And we always bring it to you live right here on YouTube. So should you have a question, comment, or concern, do not hesitate to drop it in the comments below so we can get you instant feedback. Also, remember to like, subscribe, turn on your notifications so you don't miss a live episode. Now, do we have a good one for you today, beautiful people? Would I lie to you? Absolutely not. In a show where we pride ourselves on firsts, for the first time ever, we are bringing you a live concert. Yep, you heard it here first, of sorts, because we have one live song that's being performed acoustically by our all-star artist of the day, Mr. Grant Swift. Stand up, everybody back home. Give him a big show welcome. Grant, thank you for taking time out of your schedule, buddy, to join us on the show. How you doing today?
For having me. I'm good. Yeah, I've been really busy, running all over the place, but busy is good after a year and a half of not very much. So, yeah.
That's a valid point, my friend. That's a valid point. Now, our avid viewers on the show, they're going to have noticed that once they tuned in, there was a bit of a different musical arrangement to what they're used to. It was your recently released track, What I'm Thinking. Tell us, Grant, how did the single come about? What inspired it? Where did it come from?
This one is, well, this is off of a record that I wrote that it's got a very pop rock kind of feel. A lot of the songs on the album are kind of in that genre, so to speak. But this one specifically is, lyrically, especially, it's a reflection on seasonal depression, feeling crappy at different times of the year, and observations that my partner has had on my mood throughout different seasons. And so I kind of wanted to include her in a little bit of a back and forth. And so she's actually the vocalist on the chorus that you'll hear. And her name is Alice Johnson. She's great. And she, did a great job on the chorus. It's kind of a call response kind of thing between, a very introverted and insular state of mind, and then having a kind of response that is also a little bit of an internal monologue as well. So I wrote up all the lyrics myself, but got some input from Alice for sure.
Great, you were actually reading my mind because I was about to ask, who was that lovely voice as the backup? You did it. You just told us it's your lovely girlfriend, who is a dynamite singer as well, by the way. What a power couple you are in the musical world. Greg, can I just ask you, buddy? You mentioned seasonal depression. Can we touch on that just a little? Do you literally mean seasonal as in, from one season to the next, or is that just a term you use flowing from, one point in your life to the next?
Yeah, no, I mean literally season to season. I think I'm not sure if it's in the DSM 5 or whatever it is they have now, but I think seasonal affective disorder is the clinical term. But it's basically depression symptoms that seem to be related to the seasons. I've never been specifically diagnosed with this. I have been depressed. I have been diagnosed with clinical depression before, but I've noticed kind of a seasonal. Really, my partner's noticed the seasonal a correlation. So that's where that's kind of where that idea came from.
Fascinating. It's amazing that you can use something like that, Grant, and then turn it into such an amazing piece of music, and make it, such a fantastic piece of art. So congratulations on that. You mentioned it was pop rock, and that was what I wanted to kind of touch on next. How would you classify or describe your music, Grant? Is it pop rock, or is it a mix of several genres?
Yeah, I'm really bad at categorizing it. I think I've realized lately, especially I've had friends I've been playing music with since I was younger, and they have always pointed out the kind of alternative rock and 90s influence in a lot of what I write. And I've kind of graded against that description in the past, but I was listening I was out on my way to a gig in Virginia Beach the other day, and I was driving down there, and there was just a ton of alternative rock radio, and all these songs I hadn't heard since I was probably like 13, and some of which I don't even really like, but I noticed certain like similarities, like, oh yeah, I do have like that cadence at the end of certain lines, or like the way that there'll be certain affects. One thing that you see in a lot of like grunge and alternative 90s music is what is called borrowed chords from a minor key into a major key. So the song will be in major, but instead of incorporating one of the minor chords that usually would occur naturally in that major key, they will borrow a chord from the minor key. And it's interesting because it's usually a major chord they're borrowing. So you can create all these kind of dark sounding grunge songs with all major chords. So there's which often I think gives alternative rock and grunge like kind of its kind of unique darkness. It's still poppy, it's still popular, it's still like something that fits into the rock idiom, but it's got a kind of darkness to it. And I think it's kind of that, the way that the harmony works there.
Grant, I've got to be honest. I was, and I am not at all musically gifted. I was kicked out of every music class at school. I was hopeless. I couldn't even really do the keyboard properly. But it sounds like, to be really honest, you could teach a masterclass, buddy. When are you going to go live with that? Because I'm going to get my pen and paper. I'm going to sit there like a good student. Because, mate, that was. Have you thought about doing something like that?
I've thought about it. Yeah, I grew up like singing, and had to read music. So I had like a choir master when I was a kid who really drilled a lot of musical concepts into our heads. And then I studied music in college, so I know a bit of like kind of the academic and music theory side of things. But yeah, I've thought about. I haven't actually ever taught really as a regular thing. I've given some lessons like on guitar and voice, but I have thought about that. I've thought about doing something like what you're doing here, because YouTube is such a great tool for both teaching and for just like reaching a wide audience. And there's a lot of like hunger for musical knowledge. So I've thought about doing something like that for sure.
Grant, consider us your musical agent, my friend. We're going to put all the details to the class below, all our viewers. We are pushing, we are sponsoring, we are promoting Grant's first class. Just keep your eyes down below. That's where we keep our details. Grant, now, we established before, we had a little chat before, that you're New York City boy, born and raised. He was born in Manhattan, schooled in the boogie down Bronx, now living in Brooklyn. You have an endless list of musical inspiration from the Big Apple. Is there any particular influence that shaped your music?
I mean, I would say still like a lot of everything I kind of grew up listening to. I mean, I grew up honestly. I was born in the city, and yeah, I went to school in the Bronx, but I grew up mostly in the suburbs, and there was definitely like a big like alternative rock interest in the suburbs that I think I probably would have missed a little bit if I had stayed in the city, honestly. And then when I moved back to the city was when I kind of got back into more. That was like when I started listening to hip hop and listening to more like R&B, and that has really influenced my music over the last 10 to 15 years for sure. So even more than that, honestly, the last like 20 years. So it's a bit of everything. I really am influenced by everything. I find, a lot of people I grew up around, I've been actually taking some guitar instruction from a really great jazz guitarist to kind of get more of my chops in the jazz world. And I love a lot of like the old jazz standards, like stuff that, is like Gershwin and all the old stuff that people have been riffing on for decades. Yeah. I
mean, you really are a proponent of all music then. You can listen and enjoy like all ranges of music, and then be able to pick and pull from that and use that in the music that you build, which I don't know, like I keep saying, as somebody who's a hopeless musician, I love music, but I can't tell you anything about music. That seems like an extraordinary talent to me. Um, Grant, I want to. I mean, we can't wait to get you playing. We're going to get you playing live, but I just got a couple of more things that I want to discuss with you first. One, we're going to sidestep just for a second because every guest we have on the show, we always want to find out how the past 18 months has affected their life personally and also their work. But Grant, I understand that you in particular had a rough period around March last year. Can you tell us a little more about it?
Yeah, actually, at a gig, I definitely, I'm sure I contracted it from a gig. It's right. It was around, right around March 15th, but I got COVID, and it was right before I literally played. I guess I can hold as a kind of badge of honor that I probably played one of the last public kind of music events in New York City because I played a big wedding here in Brooklyn, and it was like I think about 48 hours later that they officially kind of stopped any public gatherings, and everything started shutting down. And it was just another 24 hours or so after that I developed symptoms. My partner was on her way back from a trip, and we were ready to kind of like just shelter and huddle down. And she got sick a few days after me. And at first we just thought there's no way this is COVID, but then we realized we lost our sense of smell and taste, and that was then they started to have all the headlines about how that was a common symptom, and then we finally got tested and had COVID. It was not fun. It was pretty very much unfun for about 2.5 weeks. I had a fever for like 10 days, a lot of fatigue, all like the typical symptoms, but it was dicey there, especially because it was the beginning of the pandemic here in America. And so there were a lot of questions circulating, a lot of things people didn't know. And so it was definitely a dark and scary kind of time. And so I actually wrote a couple songs while I was sick about some of the experiences I was having, contrasting the kind of what I saw as fear-based approach to dealing with the crisis that I saw in my life in a lot of ways, and then also the kind of love-based approach that I saw in around me. So I wrote a little 2-song album called Fear and Love in the Time of Corona, which you can find online if you look up. We did a music video for Love in the Time of Corona too, for the love portion of it.
Perfect. And while you're mentioning that, Grant, throw us quickly your socials, your Spotify, where we can find your stuff. We'll tap back into that again later.
Sure,
But
you can
give us a
find
quick
me
heads up.
everywhere. Yeah, you can find me everywhere. Grant Swift, but Grant Swift Music is my socials. So at Grant Swift Music, go to grantswiftmusic.com. I'll soon be switching grantswiftmusic.com over to grantswift.com. Just got that URL locked down. So you'll be able to find my stuff there. But yeah, and follow me at Grant Swift Music. I'm on Instagram, Facebook.
All the socials, there they are. So from adversity, we grow, we learn, we get life experience. So the 2-song album you just mentioned now, did you find that in some way therapeutic and healing to be able to write some music about that? Did that help get you through it?
I think so. It was definitely a trying time for me. I wanted to, I think I wanted to write about it because I also wanted to instill for myself that there was like a kind of a choice to be made, that there are, I think being aware of our own biases and being aware of the things that kind of trigger us and can make us act in all kinds of crazy ways is a really we're like the only animals we know of, right, who have the ability to kind of self-reflect and self-correct and all these kinds of things. So I kind of saw it as a practice in that, like I was driving myself a little crazy with all these questions. I have a lot of like anti-authoritarian kind of tendencies in my life. So I was immediately like really frustrated. I lost a lot of business. I mean, I've been self-employed for years, so all the opportunities I had were just kind of dashed, and a lot of that had to do with, I think, how the local governments especially handled the crisis. So I had a lot of anger towards local politicians and people like that, and I kind of wanted to try to find a way to deal with and channel that in a way that challenged me and also hopefully gave me a more positive outlook. I think it helped. I'm not positive, but it was still a dark time for a while after that, even into the beginning of this year. But things are, I think a lot of people feel that things are looking up now. So yeah.
Exciting times ahead, Grant. And we know things are looking up for you, buddy, because as we just heard before and we mentioned, you've dropped the first single. You're about to play another one for us. Before we do that, I promise, what is it? Scouts Honor, all that sort of stuff. This is my last question, but on this show, Grant, my very last question on interviews we call the genie question. So just imagine you got your magic little lamp there. You get to rub your genie, all righty? When you close your eyes and dream of your ideal future, Mr. Grant Swift, what do you see? Are you on stage at a festival? Is it sold out arenas around the world? What is Grant Swift doing in the next 5, 10, 2 years, whatever it is?
I think all of the above. Yeah, I mean, it would be amazing to play a big sold out festival. The kind of spectacle and like adrenaline of that moment, it would be really exciting. But I think more generally, the thing that I really look forward to is, I think especially in a lot of arts, creative kind of pursuits and creative industries, the thing that a lot of people I know, especially like who are kind of struggling to get their art heard here in Brooklyn and in New York, is the real goal is to just have a self-sustaining kind of opportunity, like self-sustaining opportunities, like where, I would love to work with all kinds of different people who I respect and know that those things can pay the bills, know that those things can lead to other opportunities, know that, there's an audience that is constantly pushing me to get better, to produce more work, to produce more challenging work, and really just have that kind of constant feedback loop. I think building up that feedback loop is kind of what every artist, especially in places like New York, is trying to accomplish. So that's what I look forward to.
Grant, is there any particular name of another artist or anybody like that you would really like to get in touch with? Because our producer and director, Jay Sebring, he's a monster. If you just drop a name, we'll just jump on the phone. We'll see what we can arrange for you, buddy. We're kind of influential here.
Yeah, Joe, can you put me in touch with Paul McCartney? That's who really...
Paul McCartney, isn't he the other Beatle? Isn't he the other guy? I'm joking. I love Sir Paul McCartney. I actually watched him at Yankee Stadium when I lived in New York. I tell you what, talk about checking off a life goal. Great.
That's awesome.
Paul McCartney. Okay, Joe Sebring, Paul McCartney. Just write that down, baby. Okay, as I said at the top of the show, today is a special episode because Grant is playing his brand newest, shiniest track, Sunshine, live and unplugged. Grant, just before I let you start getting into it, just tell us very quickly about the song, how it came about.
Yeah. So this one is about let's see, this one's about kind of the hustle of New York City, actually. It's the chorus I mostly came up with while I was out walking around the city doing all kinds of odd jobs, mostly like walking dogs. And I was just really between that and music and acting as your own manager and booker, it all ends up being a lot, and that's such a normal thing for a lot of creative people in New York City that the hustle here is just insane. It's just nuts, the culture of it, and so it's kind of about that. It's about like kind of going nonstop, feeling like you barely have time to enjoy the day and all the other things that we do with our lives. So that's kind of it in a nutshell. Everyone should listen to the track and get their own interpretation, pull out some more nuggets goodness.
And I heard it's just a little bit or a whole lot upbeat, Grant. Over to you, buddy. I'm going to be quiet. I'm just going to sit back intently and enjoy this big guy. Ladies and gentlemen, Grant Swift, Sunshine.
That you wouldn't want to be my friend, 'cause I'm too naive. But everybody's seen this shit before, and we still don't leave. Yeah, 'cause it's alright where you going, and it's alright what you knowing. Try to walk down low on your own on a Friday night. You can't part the seas, but in a group of 10, you know that might makes right. Yeah, yeah, and it's alright where you think you're going, and it's alright what you knowing. Sunshine, battling thoughts at the same time. My phone is blowing up. Boom time to get going. It's noon time. I need to get out of my mind. People rushing to rush lines. Can't get hold of the night time. It's the right time to make sweet love without thinking back for the sunshine. Hungover, drunk, I ran 3 miles just to meet my friend. The sun was up, set up shop, and took some shots on his river park, trying to take it and pretend that it's alright where you think you're going, and it's alright what you knowing. Sunshine, battling thoughts at the same time. My phone is blowing up. Boom time to get going. It's no time. I need to get out of my mind. People rushing to large lines. Can't get hold of the night time. It's the right time to make sweet love and love and get back for the sunshine. I bet you wouldn't want to be my friend, 'cause I'm too naive. But everybody's seen this shit before, and we still don't leave. Yeah, yeah, and it's alright where you think you're going, and it's alright what you knowing. Sunshine, battling thoughts at the same time. My phone is blowing up. Boom time to get going. It's no time. I need to get out of my mind. People rushing to large lines. Can't get hold of the night time. It's the right time to make sweet love and love and get back for the sunshine. Battling thoughts at the same time. My phone is blowing up. Boom time to get going. It's no time. I need to get out of my mind. People rushing to large lines. Can't get hold of the night time. It's the right time to make sweet love and love and get back on the sunshine.
Sitting in his kitchen in Brooklyn. There you have it, folks. Another first and another good times episode.
Question. What am I doing? Well, I'm planning a tour in October that is going to have me all going all over the eastern half of the U.S. most likely, and over the course of about a month and a half. And I'm going to be focusing on a lot of different kind of mostly non-traditional venues, and like cafes, living rooms, galleries, any place that'll have me is interested in collaborating on something kind of cool. So I'm going to be doing that. But in the meantime, I am planning an outdoor show, not to put them on the spot, but at Plaxel Gallery in Long Island City. And we haven't gotten a date down yet, but I'm sure we're going to get a date there for the album release in August. So look for the album on August 6th.
How exciting is that? And whether they knew it or not, guess what? Now we're all going there for the album launch. Yes.
Yep.
To keep up with all things Grant Swift, you know the drill, ladies and gents. Just peek below because we put all his information down there, everything he just mentioned and a little more. Now, the single Sunshine is out already, the one that we just heard. The single What I'm Thinking, which opened up our show today, dropped today. Grant, tell us, when is the full album, First Elephant, dropping? And second part of the question already, who designed that cover? That elephant was good looking. What a cool cover.
Cool, right? Yeah. Yeah, it's dropping August 6th. We've got a very cool premiere coming August 4th that I can't tell you about yet, but you guys can all follow me and get notified when that happens. But we are, the cover was done by a friend of mine. You can find it at Eat the Cake NYC. He's a great artist, right? Does all kinds of things, but he's a great photographer and worked with me to kind of get that image. I bought an elephant mask that I really thought was kind of cool looking, and so we did a photo shoot. That's me in the elephant mask.
Perfect. We're going to dump his details down there as well in case anybody needs any artwork done because I love that album cover. So the dates to remember, let me just say them one more time. August 4th, something special is coming out, but we can't mention it now. August 6th, the album launch, First Elephant, is dropping. So August is going to be a big month for you. In October, you're then doing an Eastern Seaboard type of tour, including living rooms, which I think sounds so cool. Can you imagine turning up at home and you got Grant Swift in your living room just playing some music? Couldn't get any better than that, could it? Eastern Seaboard, you lucky people. When are you coming out west, buddy? Come out west here to LA. We want to see you out here.
Yeah, I would love to. I want to. The plan is to hopefully get some. We're working on getting some radio play out there, and then seeing if I can justify like a trip down the West Coast. Hopefully in the next 6 months or so. So yeah.
Fingers crossed. It's nothing but good things, Grant. Again, thank you for joining the conversation today. As ever, thank you at home for joining us on the show for another awesome episode. Please remember, if you have an artist or content creator you're following, drop their name in the comments below, along with any question you're dying to get answered, and we will get them on the show. We will get them talking because that's what we do. Don't forget to like, subscribe to the show, and remember, we are live, so turn on your notifications by hitting the bell icon so you don't miss an episode. Until next time, don't forget, have fun, stay beautiful, people.
I know that I really just want you to be what I want to.